So in the last stop, so we discuss how as the yogi progresses in a practice, okay? So the experience of the object changes. Okay? So you start or you begin to experience the object in different ways as you progress in your practice, depending on what stage you are in. Okay? So we begin with very simple concepts of rising, falling, concept of the form and the shape and the direction, the manner of movement, fast or slow, long or short, and so on. Okay? And so you note this continuously, and then when you develop a sufficient degree of mindfulness, concentration, then you begin to discern the uh, mental, physical nature behind the concept of rising, falling. Okay? First, the material nature, like the wind element, the nature of pushing, tightness, and so on. Okay? And then after that also the mental nature, knowing, or noting, mm, or the intention, and so on. So you begin to discern this mental, physical nature, okay? And then you carry on your practice, okay? Anupassana, not continuously, to a point when the mind is clear enough, you discern each mental, each physical nature separately, clearly, moment to moment. Okay? So you realize that each nature that arises, each mental or physical nature that arises moment to moment is a new nature. There's no such thing as old nature or old dhammas. Everything arising this moment, always new, moment to moment. Okay? Mm. Mm. So once you can discern each mental, physical nature clearly, separately, moment to moment, what do? You continue to note. You don't stop noting. So you note each mental, physical nature, moment to moment, until a point when becomes clear enough. Then begin to notice each of this mental, physical nature that arise every moment. Okay? Each one of them has a nature of arising, and then once it arises, it diminishes, and then finally disappear. So disappear completely. Okay? So we begin to discern the Sankata Lakkhana, okay? The nature of things that are conditioned. Okay? So from Sabhava, from concept uh, to Sabhava, natural characteristic, mental physical nature. From Sabhava to Sankata Lakkhana, nature of conditioning of arising and disappearing. So, so your experience of the object changes, okay? As you progress through your practice. Mm. Okay, so this Sankata Lakkhana describe the nature of things, condition, is described by Buddha in the Sankata Lakkhana Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya. So Buddha says, Tinimani bhikkhave sankatassa sankata lakhanani. So there, there are these three characteristics of things that are conditioned. Okay? So katamani tini, what are the three? So first one is upado panyayati. That means arising can be seen clearly. Okay? So anything that is conditioned, you, if you note it properly, you can see clearly. It's arising. Okay? That is arising. Okay? So like sound, sound. You can see the sound arises. Okay? Before that, it wasn't anywhere, right? Then suddenly it arises. And when there's condition, what's the condition? The condition is I hit. And not only because I hit, okay? It's not me. I hit. It's the elements here knocking against the elements here. Hmm? And then at the same time, you have the ear sensitivity, and you're paying attention. Okay? So when all these conditions come together, arise. So you know carefully, there's a point where it arises. Okay? So its arising can be discerned. Okay? Mm. So once it arises, what happened? What happened? Disappear. Right? So Vayo Panyayati, the second nature, Buddha says it's disappearance, can be seen clearly. Okay? So every time you note something that's conditioned, you can see it clearly. It arises and it disappears. Okay? But you must pay careful attention. Okay? Mind must be sharp enough, clear enough. You can discern, arise and disappear, arise, disappear, arise, disappear. Huh? Mm. So we can you discern? Mm. No, actually, Vipassana is not difficult. Right? You can hear, arise, disappear, gone. Mm. What is difficult is you can continuously note one after another. Arising, disappear. This is easy because sound is very gross. You pay attention, you can know it, rising, disappearing. The finer objects, especially the mental objects, are much more difficult because they are much more subtle. Even many of the materiality, subtle materiality, also quite difficult. That's why you need samadhi. Okay? You need to develop this continuous mindfulness until you reach this kanika samadhi. Attention can hold continuously. The mind is sharp, it's clear, it can penetrate moment to moment. Okay? So arising is clear. Upado panyayati, vayo panyayati. Disappearance is clear. And then also, itasa anyatatam panyayati. That means that it's change while remaining present is seen clearly. Okay? So while remaining present, so from the moment it arises until the moment it disappears, that is when it remains present. Okay? The object is said to be present at that time, between the arising, from the moment it arises until it disappears. That is the moment of presence. Okay? So change while remaining present. That means while it is present, it's not static. The moment it arises, it goes towards dissolution. It goes towards disappearing, breaking up, change. So you observe carefully like the sound. You see the moment it arises, and the moment it arises, it starts to diminish, it change until disappear. That change while remaining present can be seen clearly. Okay? So these three are the what we call sankata lakkhana. Okay? Arising and the disappearing and the change while remaining. So if the yogi, you note carefully, you can discern this. When you develop enough concentration, you can discern this moment to moment to moment. Okay? So this three phase actually represents birth, aging, and death. Arising is birth. Yeah? Disappearing is death. The change while remaining, and that's aging. Yeah? And so every moment, every conditioned phenomena, every mental, physical nature that are conditioned, yeah, is going through arising, birth, aging, and death. So every moment when the yogi noting this nature, yeah, experiencing birth, aging, and death, moment to moment to moment. Mm, mm, So one Sankata Lakkhana can be discerned clearly. Mm. So what do you do? Yeah. Anupassana, you continue to know. Okay? You don't stop. So you continue to know and gradually from Sankata Lakkhana, you'll be able to begin to discern Samanya Lakkhana, the universal characteristic, sometimes general characteristic. Okay? That means the nature of anicca, dukkha, anatta, impermanent, suffering, non-self. Okay? So today we'll begin to discuss briefly about the Samanya Lakkhana.
Ketika Anda dapat melihat dengan jelas, mengedakan dengan jelas samanya lakana, sang kata lakana ini, apa yang kemudian Anda harus lakukan? Anupasana, Anda harus terus-menerus melakukan pengamatan pencatatan tanpa henti. Dan dengan demikian, dari sang kata lakana tersebut, Anda akan mampu untuk melihat samanya lakana atau karakteristik yang bersifat umum, yang bersifat general. Anda dapat melihat sifat-sifat alami dari ketidakkekalan, penderitaan dan tanpa diri atau anicca, dukkha, dan anatta. Hari ini kita akan mulai untuk mendiskusikan membahas mengenai samanya lakkhana.
So firstly, about the nature of anicca, impermanent. So the first question is, what is it that is anicca? So what is it that is impermanent? Okay, so this you can look at the sutta. For example, Anicca Sutta in the Radha Samyutta. So, so in this sutta, the Thera, the venerable elder by the name of Radha, he approached the Buddha and put forward this question to the Buddha. So he says, Aniccham, aniccham, bante vucchati. So it is said, anicca, anicca, bante, it is said. Okay, so everywhere people are saying anicca, anicca. So you walk among the Buddhist circle, everybody talking about anicca. Impermanent, impermanent. Okay? So, so his question is, Katamanuko bante aniccanti. What is it that is anicca? Huh? So, so the Buddha replied, Rupam korada aniccham. The, the materiality, rupa, is anicca. Okay? Rupa, meaning earth element, water element, and so on. So when you're not rising, falling, pushing, tightness, tension, when you're not hardness, softness, heat, cold, all these are rupa. Rupa anicca. Yeah? Buddha says materiality is impermanent. Then Vedana anicca, feeling also impermanent. So Sanya anicca, perception impermanent. Sankhara anicca, mental formations impermanent. Vijnanam anicca, and the consciousness also impermanent. Basically, the five aggregates are impermanent. So what is it that is impermanent? Five aggregates. So in the suttas, as I mentioned before also, when the Buddha talked about anicca, It's always referring to five aggregates or six sense space or 18 elements and so on. Basically, these are all uh, different ways to categorize namarupa, mental physical nature. Essentially, they are all as mental physical nature. Okay? So depending on who the Buddha is talking to, some people understand better if we describe it in terms of five aggregates. So the Buddha taught them in terms of the five aggregates. Other people will understand better if it's explained in terms of the six sense experience, six sense space. So then the Buddha explained in terms of six sense space. Yeah, but essentially, these are all just natural realities, nama rupa, mental physical nature. Okay? So what is it as anicca? Actually, five aggregates or nama rupa. So not concepts, not a person or thing, a table or chair. These are all concepts. Okay? So, mm, mm, so what is anicca is actually realities, mental physical nature, not concepts. So in our practice, we want to develop insight into anicca. You need to note the object that is anicca. That means you need to note nama rupa dhamma, mental physical nature. uh, that mental physical nature that are arising continuously, moment to moment, in the six sense experiences. So by noting this, only you can develop insight into anicca. Mm, okay. So five aggregates or the mental physical nature, they are anicca, impermanent. So, but how do we know that they are impermanent? So this is the second question. When noting this mental physical nature that's arising moment to moment. Okay, so what is it about this mental physical nature? Yeah? What are the characteristic mark or the signs uh, that tells us that this mental or physical nature that's noted is impermanent? Okay? Mm. So in the commentary, so they explain the nature of anicca, kutva abhavadena anicca, okay? Which means that it is impermanent in the sense of disappearance upon arising. Okay, mm, so that means upon arising, it disappear. Yeah, and when we say disappear, means it disappear completely. Nothing remains. Okay, so so that disappearance, that is anicca. Is the nature of anicca. Is a sign of anicca. Is what tells us that it is impermanent. Okay? So impermanent here means vanishing, disappearing completely. Nothing remains. Anicca is not like you have a piece of glass and you throw a stone at it and the glass shatter into pieces. Uh, So in everyday life, we say, anicca, impermanent. But there are still pieces of glass remaining. Uh, So anicca is not like that. Anicca is completely disappear. Nothing remains of it at all. Okay, like the sound. That's the sound. You cannot find it anywhere. Okay, completely disappear. Okay, so that disappearance completely upon arising the characteristic mark of anicca or anicca lakkhana, the characteristic of anicca. Okay? In the Anupada Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya also, Buddha all, he was describing the how Venerable Sariputta uh, developed Vipassana. uh. So he describes experience. He says uh, he experienced it as he says ahutva sambonti, hutva pativenti. Okay? So that means whatever Dhamma that he noted, he realized this Dhamma uh, not having existed before, uh, they arise. Okay? So that means before that they don't exist anywhere. uh. Then when the condition is there, they arise. uh. Just like the sound just now. Before that is now, we cannot hear anything. Suddenly when the condition comes together, it arises. Okay? So ahudwa sambonti, not having existed before they arise. Then hudwa pativenti, having a reason they vanish completely. Nothing remains of it. So, so that is how Venerable Sariputta experienced anicca. Okay? So yogis also, when your mind is clear, you experience it. You experience whatever that arises. When you note, when you are noted it, you see immediately it disappear, it vanish instantaneously, and it vanish completely. Nothing remains. Okay? Mm. So, so that disappearance completely, right? So that disappearance itself uh, is anicca lakkhana, is the characteristic mark of anicca. It is this mark that tells us it is anicca. Okay? So when we note a mental nature or physical nature, and when we see discern clearly that it disappear, vanish completely. Yeah? So you it tells you that it is anicca. So it's by noting this nature of disappearance again and again that you come to gradually come to realize the nature of anicca. So the characteristic of anicca is complete disappearance upon arising. Okay? Now, of course, in order to discern this characteristic, first of all, you must um, able to discern sankhata lakkhana, the conditioned nature, the moment to moment, rising, disappearing of this mental physical nature. Okay? So, sankhata lakkhana. This, so only if you are discern sankhata lakkhana, then you can discern samanya lakkhana, including this anicca lakkhana. Mm, mm. So now, if you fail to discern Sankata Lakkhana, the nature of arising, disappearing, the process of arising, disappearing moment to moment. Okay? Then this mental, physical process, okay, so will always appear to you as something continuous and the same all the time. Okay? So, for example, in bending the arm, right? So now, if you do not observe carefully, bending the arm, you find that you think is that one same thing that is bending throughout, right? So you think it's same thing in the beginning, same thing in the middle, same thing in the end, and you identify uh, this thing as uh, your arm. Yeah? This my arm. Yeah? So and you also think that I am bending the arm. So you think that there is a person behind this movement that's causing this act of bending. Okay? So you think it's the same person throughout that's continuously causing it to bend. Yeah? So, mm. but when you have developed clear knowledge, So when you note the act of bending, you see that bending is not the same thing continuously, right? You notice this series of bending, 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 bending. And you observe carefully as the bending, its physical nature, uh, pulling, 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 one after another. Okay? So you discern, that means sabbawa lakkhana. And you can discern each one clearly, separately, one after another. Okay? So each one is new pulling. Another pulling is a new one. Another pulling is a new one. Okay? So when your whole attention is on that process, moment to moment process, physical nature, one after another. uh, So you lose the perception of arm, the concept of an arm disappear. Your whole mind is just focused on the moment to moment nature, one after another. Okay? So the idea of a continuous arm, unchanging arm, disappear totally. Okay? All you discern is just sabbawa, physical nature, one after another. And not only that, you also discern the series of intention behind each bowling. Okay? As intention, pulling. So one nature of intention, another one. Right? So when the whole mind is focused just on this one nature of intention, another one, uh, idea of a person behind is causing this act of bending also disappear. And all you see is the true nature of intention, one after another, separately. Okay? Mm. So, mm. But here, this is just the first insight. So here, the disappearance of this sabbawa, this mental and physical nature, its disappearance is still uh, not clear. So in fact, during the first insight, actually, you, your mind is not even clear enough to discern the arising of each mental and physical nature, much less the disappearance. Okay? Actually, at the first insight, what you discern is actually the moment of presence. Okay? So remember the conditioned object, right? Uh, they have three phases, right? The arising, and the presence, and the disappearance. Sometimes to make it easy, we just say beginning, middle, end, right? So during the first insight, what the yogi discern clearly is the middle, the present, not the disappearing, not the arising, not the disappearing, but the middle. The arising and disappearing is not clear. It's there, but it's not clear to the yogi yet. Okay? Mm. So, so because the yogi cannot, at this stage, the yogi cannot discern clearly yet the disappearance. So, uh, he's not fully convinced of anicca yet. Okay? Mm. Although he knows moment to moment is a new nature. uh, uh, so, but because it doesn't haven't seen anicca lakkhana clearly, disappearance completely. uh, so he may still harbor an idea that something may still remain, uh, and therefore idea of permanence still linger on. Okay? So it's not clear yet. Mm. Mm. So, so at the stage of the first insight, mhm, Namarupa Parichedanyana. So the yogis do not even discern nature of arising. Okay, only the moment of presence. Mm. So, but as it develop further on when you reach the second insight, Pachaya Parigahanyana. So insight into the cause and effect. And so during the second insight, the yogi is able to discern how each mental, physical nature arising from cause or causes. Okay? So like when you know there's intention and then there's movement, intention, movement. You can discern each movement arising only when there's cause. Okay? So there's object, there's knowing, immediately there's knowing of the object. Okay? You notice the knowing arising when there's the object. Okay? So so beginning from the second insight, the yogi begin to notice the rising clearly, because they begin to note the nature arising from causes. Mhm. So from the second insight onwards, yogi begin to discern, notice arising of each mental, physical nature clearly. So arising becomes clear. Every time you notice this arising, okay? Very clear. The very moment it arises, it's clear. Okay? But not yet the disappearance. Okay? So during the second insight experience or something like you know something arising, you follow, but before you can see it disappear totally, something else arise. You follow it, again something else arise. You're feeling to see the disappearance again and again, but you can discern the arising very clearly. Okay? Mm. So, uh, mm, mm. so the nature of arising is actually gross, okay? More gross. Okay? Nature disappearing is more subtle, more difficult to discern. Okay? So that's why second insight, we can discern easily arising. But in order to discern the disappearance, it takes further development. Okay, so you need to develop that further. So continue to know, develop until when you reach the third insight, then finally you'll be able to discern. And the mind is clear enough, sharp enough, careful enough. Then finally you'll be able to discern the very subtle disappearance. Okay? Mm. So, mm, so at the stage of Sammasananyana, that insight, each mental nature or physical nature that's noted, you notice it arising, and then it goes on for a bit, and then finally it disappears. Okay? Everyone, mental or physical nature, you can see arising, persisting a bit, and then disappearing finally. Huh? So there's not a single mental or physical nature noted that remains. Everyone that you noted disappear. Okay? It finally disappear. So you begin to discern anicca lakkhana, disappearance completely upon arising. So from this stage on, you begin to develop anicca sanya, the perception of impermanence by noting the characteristic of impermanence, the disappearance. Okay? So, mm, uh, but during samasananyana, that insight, the change is very slow. So it arise, it takes its sweet time, and then finally it disappears. Okay, it's because the noting is actually still slow, uh, not precise in the moment. Yeah. Okay. Mm. So, so you have to still keep developing further. Okay? So you keep developing, keep noting, then the noting develop further. Huh? As it develop, as the mindfulness, the concentration, the clarity of mind becomes sharper and sharper, clearer and clearer. You begin to discern change more and more clearly. And then you notice the change. starts to accelerate faster and faster and faster, rising, disappearing faster and faster. Okay? So until finally may come to the fourth insight, Udayabaya Jnana. So the change is descends so fast that instant you notice you're not arising, it already disappear. Okay, and so fast. In the moment you're not arising is in that instant is already disappear. That means the moment of presence uh, in between the arising and disappearing, the moment of presence can no longer be discerned. Oh, it's so fast. Okay? So, so that means that characteristic of anicca it's becoming sharper and sharper, clearer and clearer. Okay? Then from here you develop it further. When you reach to the next insight, Banganyana, it's even faster. It's so fast that even the arising can no longer be discerned. Every time you note, whether mental nature or physical nature, you only see disappearing, disappearing. Things are vanishing, vanishing completely. Right? You no longer can discern arising. Okay? So the characteristic of anicca becomes very clear. Yeah. So in Banganyana, actually, the mind every time you know, the mind goes straight to anicca. Right? It goes straight to the disappearance. Mm. So in Banganyana, all concepts disappear totally. Yeah. Because in order for the mind to form concept, you must be able to see it arising. Yeah. When you see it arising, then you can form a clear idea what it is. The concept can be formed. But when you see it just disappearing, you don't even know what it is. It's just disappearing. And the concept, because it's not clear anymore. The only thing that is clear is the disappearing. You don't even know what it is. So the mind can no longer form a concept of what it is, an idea of what it is. Okay? So you just go straight to anicca. Mm. So it's a beginning from Banganyana. The mind goes straight to the characteristic of anicca, the disappearance. Okay? So again and again, it just go there. So this anicca sanya, the perception of impermanence, become firmly established in the mind. Okay? And Nicca Sanya, the perception of permanence is shaken, uh, shaken and abandoned by the mind with each noting. Okay? That means the habit of grasping after things as permanent is shaken up and being abandoned by the mind. Okay? So in during the earlier insight, even though the mind Samasananyana, Udaya Bayanyana, the mind can discern the disappearing nature anicca. Okay, but the insight is not strong enough to shape this perception of permanence. So there's still a strong habit to perceive and take things to be permanent. Okay? Beginning from Banganyana onwards and subsequent jnana onwards. So every time you note the mind, just go to anicca, anicca, the disappearance again and again and again. Okay? Just pure experience of anicca again and again. Okay? So the characteristic of anicca impresses very strongly on the mind. Okay? So the fact or the truth of anicca, impermanent, begin to sink deep into the mind and begin to transform the mind from the inside out. Okay, so so transform the mind in such a way that I begin to see the world of experience in a different light. So you no longer expect things to remain the same. all the time. Yeah? So when you have good noting, you don't expect it to remain the same all the time. Yeah? So because you don't hold on to the idea of permanence anymore. Yeah? So you let go of the fairy tale. In the fairy tale, they always say, and they live happily ever after. That is illusion. Right? So you let go of this illusion, this false hope of things remaining the same, remaining permanent all the time. You surrender to the fact of impermanence. Okay? Mm. So you're able to accept this. Mm. So with the insight into anicca, a yogi begin to perceive clearly. There's no continuity in our experience. All experience are momentary. Okay? So everything disappear the instant they arise. Okay? So the whole world of experience, seeing, hearing, smelling, and so on, the whole world of experience is in a state of unstable flux. Okay? So the world of experience is vanishing moment to moment, disappearing every single moment. Okay? Mm. So there's nothing that you can hold on to. No? There's no stability, yeah, in our existence. Mm. So this continuous noting of the characteristic of anicca, that disappearance, noting that disappearance again and again. This is called anicca nupassana, okay? Contemplation of anicca. Okay? Anupassana, I mean, you note it again and again, continuously. While you're noting characteristic of anicca, its appearance again and again. Okay? And this anicca anupassana, contemplating this nature anicca again and again, it leads to this anicca anupassana jnana, insight, uh, arising out of contemplation of impermanent. That means insight into impermanent. Mm. Mm. We stop here today.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namaste.